All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful idea from the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. Seriously, this could totally change how you think about words, meaning, and maybe even reality itself. So let's kick things off with a big question. Are we trapped by our own words? It sounds a little dramatic, right? But think about it. We use big words like time or mind or justice all day long. But the second you try to nail down what they really mean, well, that's when we get tied up in philosophical knots. And that leads us straight into our first section, what we can call a philosophical trap. For centuries, some of the smartest people in history have gotten tangled up searching for these perfect definitions. And we're about to see how that very search is what leads us astray. Now, what's so fascinating is that Wittgenstein himself fell right into this trap. Early in his career, he thought language worked like a picture of reality. Every word was a label for a thing. But then, he had this huge breakthrough. He realized language isn't a picture at all. It's more like a toolbox. And the meaning of a word doesn't come from what it names, but from how we actually use it. This quote from Augustine just nails the problem perfectly. He's saying, look, when I'm just living my life, I get what time is. But the moment someone asks me to define it, poof, it's gone. The concept just dissolves. He's become, as Wittgenstein would put it, bewitched by language. So here's the key thing. Augustine's problem wasn't that time is some deep, unsolvable mystery. No, his problem was the way he was looking for an answer. He was stuck on finding a single, essential definition. He was trapped by this mental picture, treating time as if it were a single object, like a river flowing. And that search for one fixed meaning, it led him to a total dead end. And that brings us to section 2, the big shift. And this wasn't just some small tweak in Wittgenstein's thinking. Nope, this was a complete 180, a revolutionary turn for philosophy as a whole. And here it is. This is the key that unlocks everything. Wittgenstein's advice is so simple but so profound. Don't ask for the meaning, ask for the use. He's telling us to just stop hunting for some hidden definition behind a word and instead just look at what people actually do with it. This simple idea really does change the entire game. It takes meaning from being this static, abstract thing we have to go out and discover, and it turns it into something dynamic, something practical and action that we perform every single day. Okay, so if meaning is all about use, how do we make sense of that? Well, in section 3, we're going to look at Wittgenstein's brilliant solution. So welcome to the concept of the language game. Now, a language game isn't just about the words, it's the whole activity. It's the words, plus the actions, the context, all the unspoken rules that everybody just gets. It's language woven right into the fabric of our lives. And just look at how different these are. Telling a joke is a completely different game than giving an order, right? The word fire means one thing when a commander yells it on a battlefield, and something totally different when you're talking about a cozy fireplace. Each one of these is its own unique language game. To make this even clearer, Wittgenstein came up with this fantastic analogy. He said, stop thinking of language as this one giant unified thing. Instead, think of it as a toolbox, just filled with all sorts of different tools. And this breaks it down so well. A word is a tool, right? Its meaning is its function, what it does. And what it does depends entirely on the context, on the specific job you're doing, the language game you're playing. You'd never use a screwdriver to hammer a nail, and you wouldn't use the language of a scientific paper to tell a bedtime story. But that leads us to an even deeper question, doesn't it? If meaning depends on all these different games, what is it that allows us to play them at all? What's the shared ground that makes any of this communication even possible? Well, the answer lies in an even bigger, more profound concept. Wittgenstein called it our form of life. You can think of it as the very riverbed in which the stream of our language flows. This form of life is the bedrock. It's all the shared customs, the behaviors, the instincts that we all take for granted just because we're human. It's that unspoken, shared world that we all live in that allows our words to mean anything at all. So you see, language isn't some abstract code that we just apply to the world from the outside. No, it grows right out of our shared practices. It is completely, totally interwoven with everything we do, from building a house to just saying hello to a friend. So here's how it all stacks up. At the very bottom, you've got the form of life, our shared human reality. Within that reality, we play all these different language games. And it's only inside those specific games that our words finally get their real, meaningful use. Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? Why does any of this actually matter? Well, it turns out understanding language games fundamentally redefines the entire purpose of philosophy. Just look at this comparison. For a long time, philosophy was all about building these grand theories to uncover some hidden, universal truth. But Wittgenstein comes along and says, no, the job of a philosopher isn't to build theories. It's to be more like a therapist for our language, to simply describe how we actually use words so we can dissolve all the confusion we get ourselves into. The goal isn't explanation, it's clarity. And that's really the punchline. Many of those deep, difficult problems in philosophy, they're not really problems at all. They're illusions. They're messes we create when we pull a word out of its natural home, its language game, and then expect it to work the same way everywhere else. The solution is just to put the word back where it belongs. So I'll leave you with this to think about. The next time you're chatting with a friend or you're writing a formal email to your boss or maybe telling a story to a kid, you're not just using words. You're playing different language games. So what are the rules of those games? And how does knowing that change how you see the world?